On this Sunday night, more retaliatory action in the Middle East. The U.S. and U.K. launch a new wave of strikes.
This was the beginning of our response. There will be more steps.
This time targeting Houthis in Yemen who are demanding an end to the war in Gaza. Hockey Canada scandal.
I also expect the police to address why the case was reopened.
What to expect as the sexual assault case involving 5 former World Junior hockey players begins in court on Monday. More protests in Alberta over the province's proposed gender rights changes. And the game changer for tennis players in frigid Quebec.
It's beyond my wildest dreams.
Global National with Farah Nasser. Reporting tonight, Neetu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The U.S. is escalating its involvement in the Middle East. In the past 48 hours, Washington has launched 2 major military operations against what it says are Iran-backed targets. U.S. officials say overnight, with help from the U.K. and support from Canada, it struck 36 Houthi targets in Yemen. It is retaliation for the rebel group's attacks on shipping vessels in the Red Sea, which the Houthis say are in solidarity with the people of Gaza. The latest strikes follow U.S. attacks inside Iraq and Syria on Friday night, a direct response for a drone attack that killed 3 U.S. soldiers in Jordan a week ago. Washington has stopped short of calling the escalation a war, but is promising further action. And the Houthi rebel group also says the U.S. attacks will not go unpunished. Redmond Shannon has our top story tonight.
Footage provided by the U.S. military shows B-1 bombers leaving Texas on Saturday, bound for Yemen. British Typhoon jets head for the same destination. Their mission, supported by 6 countries, including Canada, targeted Houthi sites in locations across Yemen. The third such joint operation in a month, carried out in response to the Iran-backed militant group's strikes against merchant shipping in the Red Sea, a campaign that began in November in solidarity with the people of Gaza. The group said Sunday it won't be deterred by the bombing and that it will respond. This Houthi official says the Yemeni people will continue to prepare for the confrontation with the American and British enemy. Ominous words suggesting a spiraling conflict are not confined to Yemen.
We have to be clear-eyed about that.
The White House National Security Advisor says the U.S. is not done with its campaign against Iran-backed militants in Syria and Iraq, following U.S. airstrikes against them on Friday. They were carried out in response to the killing of 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend. Jake Sullivan declined to say if strikes were planned for inside Iran too.
This was the beginning of our response. There will be more steps. Some of those steps will be seen, some may not be seen.
In Baghdad, funerals for members of a Shia armed group killed in the U.S. strikes. It's technically part of Iraq's army, but backed by Iran. This Shia leader says it's time for Iraq to kick out the 2,500 U.S. troops still stationed in the country. They're there as part of a coalition fighting against what is a common enemy in the region, Islamic State. The prospect of more U.S. airstrikes in Iraq adds to the pressure on Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sudani, who began negotiations on a U.S. withdrawal last week. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on the way to the region to push for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Blinken will be part of truce talks this week, mediated by the U.S., Qatar and Egypt. Nearly 4 months into the conflict, there is still constant fighting in Gaza City, in the densely populated enclaves north and in Han Yunis in the south. And Israel is expanding its offensive around Rafah near the Egyptian border. Displaced Palestinians are sheltering wherever they can, including in destroyed buildings. The Hamas-run health ministry says more than 27,000 people have been killed since the fighting erupted. The war in Ukraine shows no end in sight, but Ukraine is slowly clawing back ground. Overnight, 28 people were killed by shelling that hit a bakery in a town located in the Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine's defense ministry has not commented on the attack, but the town was taken by Russian forces in July of 2022, and Ukraine has been ramping up attacks on Russian-controlled territory as its ground offensive stalls. And today, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky visited troops in a southern frontline village that Kyiv retook from Russia last summer. A high-profile investigation into allegations of sexual assault involving players from Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team goes to court tomorrow. 5 hockey players, 4 of them in the NHL, and 1 former NHLer now playing in Europe are facing charges they sexually assaulted a woman in a London, Ontario hotel room 6 years ago. All 5 men are expected to plead not guilty. Eric Sorensen reports from London, Ontario tonight.
It is potentially a watershed moment for hockey and the justice system in this country. On Monday, police in London will outline long-delayed charges of sexual assault for 5 professional hockey players on leave from their teams, including 3 NHL clubs. Careers and reputations hang in the balance.
They're in unknown territory. I mean, their careers are at stake. Their professional life is at stake. You know, their ability to earn a living, you know, they could be incarcerated as well.
For the accuser, identified as EM, it is an agonizing quest for justice.
This is going to be a brutal experience for her.
Daphne Gilbert says complainants have often faced a backlash when celebrities like sports heroes are accused. But she says police and prosecutors are acutely aware of the enormous public interest in this case.
It does seem to have taken a long time, and I can only hope that that means that the case is really solid now that it's coming forward.
Gilbert says the case will hinge on consent applied distinctly to each of the accused. The alleged assault is said to have happened in this London hotel after a Hockey Canada gala in June 2018, honoring the World Junior Champions. The 5 accused played for that celebrated team. The woman was 20 at the time.
The whole legal system in Canada is not well suited to assisting sexual assault survivors.
McIntosh Ross says the case will test not just the legal system, but other institutions, such as Hockey Canada, which quietly paid a settlement to the accuser, while the accused kept playing in the NHL and Europe.
There will have to be a commitment from the NHL, from Hockey Canada, from lawyers, journalists, players, coaches, to really make a commitment to changing this culture, because this didn't happen overnight. This happened over decades.
I think any characterization that this is a systemic issue is both inaccurate and unfair.
The NHL's commissioner felt compelled to answer critics as the league's All-Star Weekend was showcasing its best players. Gary Bettman distanced the NHL from those now facing charges. All will be free agents at the end of this season, though Bettman wouldn't say what the league's plans are.
What transpires in the judicial proceedings may have to some extent an impact on what we choose to do or not do.
For now, the players' hockey careers are on hold as they face criminal charges in this courthouse on Monday. The charges haven't been tested in court. Lawyers for the players say they will plead not guilty. Eric Sorensen, Global News, London, Ontario.
There were protests again today from those opposed to policy proposals in Alberta taking aim at transgender rights. The province's premier says she believes her government is striking the right balance when it comes to kids, but criticism across Canada has been swift. As Heather Yourex-West explains, the pushback could have political implications beyond Danielle Smith and her United Conservative Party.
Sweeping proposed changes to transgender rights in Alberta brought out protesters once again on Sunday to the steps of Edmonton's legislature.
You are safe and you are loved.
And outside of Alberta as well. This was the scene in New Brunswick as the province's controversial policy makes waves nationwide.
This potentially pushes this issue, this set of issues, onto the federal agenda in a way that might be difficult for the federal Conservatives.
Federally, Liberal and NDP members were quick to denounce the proposal, but there may be concerns among some federal Conservatives too. MP Greg McLean, who represents Calgary Centre, says he's been speaking to his LGBTQ2 constituents and that, as proposed, Alberta's policy may need to be modified.
And I have spoken to the Premier's office about this, and I'll be speaking more about the pathways we have here going forward so that we're actually talking to the people that are some of Canada's most marginalized people and making sure we have solutions for the parents everywhere.
Within Alberta politics, this issue could bring Naheed Nenshi back into public life.
We protect everyone, we protect every kid, and we protect them right now.
In a statement to Global News, Nenshi says he's now considering entering the race to lead the provincial NDP. I have been listening to a lot of pitches from party members and other Albertans. Over the coming weeks, I hope to have more conversations about whether my running would help build a better Alberta.
In terms of his potential success, I think it's very interesting because he is, of course, the former mayor of Calgary. And although the NDP did make inroads in Calgary in the last election, with Nenshi, they could conceivably take more seats in Calgary.
In gender reassignments.
But an election in Alberta is more than 3 years away, and Alberta's premier believes her proposal has broad voter support, even as those against the policy make their opposition known. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Across Nova Scotia today, people are being asked to hunker down as a winter storm pounds the province. Up to 80 centimeters of snow has fallen in some places this weekend. In Halifax, residents are being told to avoid non-essential travel. Transit services cautiously resumed around noon today after being halted this morning. Airport services were also limited, with many flights canceled or delayed. Cape Breton Regional Municipality has also declared a local state of emergency.
The reason that council decided to go forward with the local state of emergency is really and truly to keep people off the roads. We need to keep people in their houses because right now, in your home is the safest place where you can be.
The local state of emergency is in place for 7 days. Global News meteorologist Yvonne Schell joins me now with the outlook. Yvonne?
Neithu, we continue to track a significant amount of snow along the east coast, and it's been a prolonged period of snow that will give us additional amounts. Now, the areas in Nova Scotia that will be a concern, with the snowfall warning still seeing 10 and up to 20 centimeters. These are additional amounts and even higher amounts towards the eastern regions, Cape Breton, with the winter storm warning with up to 25 centimeters. Another concern as we get in this evening and continuing in towards tomorrow is blowing snow, near zero visibility with some of the winds with gusts between 70 and up to 80 kilometers per hour. So snowfall will continue overnight. By tomorrow afternoon should taper off to a chance for some flurries for most areas. It'll give us a nice break between systems. By Tuesday, we're seeing cloud cover and the return for some sunshine by our Wednesday. Neithu?
Thanks, Yvonne. Damage from deadly forest fires. Coming up, the destruction as towering flames claim dozens of lives in Chile. In Chile, there are scenes of devastation as deadly wildfires tear through the country's Valparaiso region. The blazes have destroyed more than 1,000 homes, killing at least 99 people. Hundreds remain missing. The country's president warns the death toll is expected to rise even further. Abigail Beeman has more on the destruction and the uphill battle ahead.
Fighting fires from the air and the ground. It was like living through hell, says this woman who lost her home in the coastal tourist city of Vina del Mar. We need help, this woman says. Food, supplies, clothes. I lost everything. This Taylor couple tries to salvage what's left of a workshop while these people search for a missing cat. Areas near Vina del Mar and Valparaiso have been hardest hit, home to around 1 million people and about 120 kilometers from the capital, Santiago. At least 1,200 homes destroyed and 9,000 hectares burned. The fires broke out during a heat wave in central Chile. Weather has made extinguishing as many as 90 fires more challenging, with high winds, low humidity, and temperatures topping 40 degrees. Authorities are also investigating whether arson played a role. This is the deadliest catastrophe since the 2010 earthquake that killed 500 people.
Significativamente.
And Chile's president said Sunday the death toll will rise significantly. Crews work around the clock to not only battle active blazes, but help the injured and find the missing. In his weekly address, Pope Francis prayed for the dead and injured in the fires he called devastating. A state of emergency was declared Friday night, while the president announced 2 days of national mourning will start Monday. Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
In the U.S., California is facing more heavy rains from a second atmospheric river in less than a week. Millions of people in the state will be under flood watches for the next few days. Around Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, forecasters are warning of life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides. Some places expect up to 30 centimeters of rain. There are also warnings of hurricane-force winds, including the possibility of brief tornadoes. Ahead, opponents of the planned Quebec EV battery plant in protest. What action they're calling for next. There was a protest today against a planned $7 billion EV battery plant in Quebec over fears it will leave a large footprint on a wetland near Montreal. A coalition of several environmental groups has demanded a full environmental study of the project by Swedish manufacturer Northvolt. An injunction in court had temporarily halted earlier preparations, but they've now resumed as worries rise between locals and environmental activists. Elizabeth Zogalis reports.
The company had started felling trees on its 170-hectare site, but it stopped in mid-January after an injunction request was filed by environmental groups and citizens.
There's no public transparency. There's no information for people that are available. So this project is definitely on a fast track, while we should have proper moment to think about it, have the information, ask questions, get answers.
2 weeks ago, a judge ruled Northvolt could continue construction. Sunday's demonstration, nicknamed a funeral walk, was to shed light on the environmental damage and loss that will occur once shovels are in the ground.
A lot of people, a lot of groups are asking for a proper independent assessment of this project because the government has been bulldozing this project.
Patrick Bonnet with Greenpeace Canada says the government is finding loopholes to fast-track the project.
The government did change the rules, making sure that this project wouldn't go under the BAP, the Bureau d'Audience Publique en Environnement.
Ici, maintenant, pour le futur de nos enfants.
Residents are concerned this will set a precedent and open the door to more large-scale industrial projects without them being subjected to all the necessary environmental assessments.
All the wetlands, this is one of them. It's not a big one, but there are many more which will be affected down the line because many more plants will be coming, many more mines will be opened up, much more of our land will be damaged.
Demonstrators unanimously agree a project of this scale needs to be fully evaluated.
When you put in billions of dollars and you create a huge space and you change the social fabric of the area, you do it carefully and slowly, using a lot of people to reflect on the best way to do it.
Northvolt claims it will make the greenest batteries in the world in Quebec and bring thousands of jobs. On Friday, it announced it wants to create a community liaison committee. Elizabeth Zogalis, Global News, McMasterville.
Next, the court-covering change Quebec tennis players say is beyond their wildest dreams. It is official. Canada's quest to win the 2026 FIFA World Cup will begin in Toronto. BMO Field gets set to host 6 games during the tournament, while Vancouver's BC Place will host 7, including 2 of Team Canada's matches. The biggest ever edition of the World Cup kicks off in Mexico City, while finals will be in New Jersey. Canadians are well known for hitting the ice or the slopes this time of year, but now a traditional summer sport is becoming a smash hit this winter. Tennis played under inflatable domes. Tennis Canada is sanctioning the sport under these bubbles to encourage more people to pick up the game in the cooler months. As Tim Sargent reports, players are swinging into it.
Jean Péloquin is really getting into the swing of playing under a dome.
This is obviously a great asset for us.
The player says hitting balls inside an inflatable bubble is a game changer.
The more the better. I mean, people will be able to keep on playing year-round.
Waterloo in the eastern townships of Quebec is one of the latest places where outdoor courts have been temporarily transformed into an indoor facility covered by a dome that's removable come spring.
We're actually standing on outdoor courts.
For sure, yeah.
These are exterior courts.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Canadian tennis legend François Godbout helped pay for the $1.6 million structure after being approached.
Was that mine?
By the local pro who convinced Tennis Canada, corporate sponsors, and the city of Waterloo to chip in.
It's beyond my wildest dreams, I tell you.
Norman Rothschild first had the idea more than a decade ago. His plan, make tennis more affordable by charging players a fraction of the cost of joining an indoor club. Several inflatable domes sanctioned by Tennis Canada already exist across the country, most notably in the provinces of Ontario and Alberta. This is the only one in Quebec.
It's a partnership between a nonprofit and the city, so our overhead is very low, and therefore we could charge the players less.
The goal of Tennis Canada is to have 30 of these domes by 2030 to cover 160 courts and open up tennis a lot more to the recreational player.
So we try to find ways that playing all year round doesn't cost so much. And that's our mission. We're trying to get more people on the courts.
Simon Rothschild trains here and loves it.
It looks cool. I like it a lot because, I don't know, I haven't been in a place like this.
The dome is also opening up opportunities to hundreds of young players who normally would never pick up a racket in the winter.
We have 3 schools here that could walk here, about 1,500 students locally.
Making sure players of all ages get a big hit inside a bubble that's inflating in popularity. Tim Sargent, Global News, Waterloo, Quebec.
Yeah, fun for all ages. That is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Neetu Garcha. Tonight's Your Canada is Dead Man's Cove Beach in Harbour, Breton, Newfoundland and Labrador. We love seeing your Canada. Please keep emailing your photos to viewers@globalnational.com. Thanks so much for watching. Donna will be back with you tomorrow. Have a great night.